You know, for so many Nepali migrants, Paris is the dream, the ultimate destination. But what happens when that dream is actually built on a foundation of lies? We're about to dive into a really dark story where the promise of help turns into a nightmare of exploitation. It almost always starts with a simple message, like this one, something you'd see scrolling through TikTok. Come to Paris, we will help you. It looks like a lifeline, right? A genuine offer from a fellow Nepali who gets it, someone who wants to lend a hand. But here's the thing, that seemingly generous offer, it comes with a price, a steep, hidden price. And that brings us to the core question of this whole story. What is the real price of that help? So to answer that, we've got to go right back to the beginning. It all starts online with a digital promise that's carefully designed to prey on people's biggest hopes. And the people they're targeting, well, it's probably not who you think. They aren't trying to lure people directly from Nepal. No, they're preying on Nepali workers who are already in Europe, legally, on work visas in places like Croatia or Romania. These folks have already paid a ton of money just to get that far, only to be told there's an even better, easier way waiting for them in France. And this is the bait they use. The traffickers make it sound so simple. They'll tell you, oh, asylum in France is easy. Don't worry, we handle everything. They promise you'll have asylum in a year, citizenship a few years after that. And to seal the deal, they claim they have connections, that they know people in the community organizations. It's a very convincing web of lies. But see, that promise you see online, that's just the hook. It's only the first step in a very methodical, very deliberate playbook for exploitation. This isn't just some random scam. It's an organized operation. And the playbook follows 4 clear steps. It starts with the online bait, just like we saw. Then comes the illegal road trip to Paris. Once you're there, the real fraud begins, with fake stories and fake documents. And it all leads to the final step, the commission trap, which is designed to snare people in a cycle of debt they can never escape. And you know what the exploiters call this whole operation? They call it vyavasaya, business. Just let that sink in for a second. They don't see this as helping anyone. To them, human suffering is just a commercial enterprise, a way to make money. So what does this business actually look like in practice? Well, they promise asylum assistance, but the reality is you're paying huge fees for fake documents. They promise you housing, but you end up paying insane rent to be crammed into a crowded room. They say they'll connect you to a lawyer, but they're just taking a massive commission. Every single promise is a lie designed to extract money. And the whole system is built on fraud. These fake documents, nakali kagazat, and totally made-up stories are the cornerstone of the whole scam. Victims get charged thousands of euros for this stuff, which not only bleeds them dry financially, but it also makes them part of a crime. And that gives the traffickers even more power over them. Okay, so we've seen how the scam works mechanically, but what is the real human cost of all this? This is where it gets really tough. This is the high cost of hope. Get this. The exploiters have a chilling term they use for a new arrival. They call them a dehuno guy, a milking cow. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know about their mindset, right? A person isn't a person, they're just a source of profit, something to be milked for as long as possible. And how do they do the milking? Simple. Commissions on everything. You need a room? There's a commission. You need a job? Commission. You need a lawyer? Oh, you better believe there's a huge commission on top of the actual legal fees. The victim is caught in this web of debt that just keeps growing, making them totally dependent. The gap between what people were hoping for and what they actually get is just, it's devastating. The hope for a new life becomes the reality of being trapped and illegal. The hope for a supportive community becomes the nightmare of being exploited by your own people. And that dream of financial freedom, it turns into being nothing more than a milking cow for somebody else. And this is what that exploitation looks like day to day. Many are forced into under-the-table labor, like in Parisian salons. They're even coached on what to lie about if officials ever show up. They're told if inspectors come, just say, I am a client. They're literally forced to participate in covering up their own exploitation. And we need to be clear about this. These traffickers are strategic. They often go after women, especially women who don't have any family in Paris, because they're seen as more vulnerable. And the reporting is very clear that for some, the exploitation goes beyond money and work. It becomes physical. So you have these individual criminals, sure, but that's only one piece of the puzzle. The much bigger and maybe more tragic question is, where is the community in all of this? And that brings us to the final part of this story, the community's complicit silence. It's the question that just hangs over this entire situation. When people are being preyed on by their own people, speaking their own language from their own country, why the silence? Where are the safety nets? Well, the reasons are complicated and, frankly, pretty disturbing. For one, a lot of the community leaders are former asylum seekers themselves, so they don't want to bring any negative attention to the whole process. There's also just a widespread fear of retaliation if you speak out. And get this, the perpetrators are often related to influential people in the community, so they're protected. On top of all that, the official organizations are basically impossible to get a hold of. And this lack of support is total. It's a brick wall. We're talking about desperate families back in Nepal who managed to track down a number for a community organization in Paris, and when they call for help, they get ignored or just flat out told, sorry, we don't know them. The door is slammed shut. So let's just call this what it actually is. This isn't misguided help. It's not just a con. This is a new organized form of human trafficking, manav taskari, that's hiding in plain sight disguised as community support. And that leaves us with one final haunting question. When the very community that is supposed to be your safety net is the one that betrays you, where on earth do you even begin to look for justice?